we are recording. So, who is here with us at the moment? Well, we've had 22 people subscribe, which actually is quite a high number for Blab. So Lisa Nichols is here. Lisa Nichols is my chief. She is our moderator for the evening. She's going to keep everyone in shape.
Oh, awesome.
Excellent. So I think people are just beginning to come in now. Oh, I'm just going to lock the seat for the time being. Sorry, Marion. Well, I might open up the seats later. I'm just going to lock it for the moment. Sorry, that feels really mean doing that, doesn't it? But,
they really use harsh language on here. Are you sure you want to kick this person?
Kick them out.
Why don't you lovingly excuse them? I think that would be much better language.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got a few people here. We've got Thrive Grow Biz, Nikki Fruin, Coach Nori. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Inga. Excellent. So this is so exciting. Firstly, thank you very much for allowing me to coming on my Blab. How exciting. This is, I feel very honoured.
Oh, I'm honoured. Do you know who you are?
Oh, how funny. Right, so law of attraction, what's all that about then? Actually, no. Actually, let's start again. Bob, I know everyone probably knows who you are anyway, but why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Bob Doyle. Most people probably do know me from being a part of The Secret, the movie and the book. The movie came first, for those who don't know. And I've been teaching, and there it is now, product placement. I've been teaching Law of Attraction since 2002. And I stumbled upon it, if you will. It was, I'd been searching for it without knowing that I was searching for it for quite some time. Basically just trying to find my own place in life career-wise. That's pretty much the thing that really had me really explore is there in fact a way to create your life by design, or is this some new age concept, or what is this really? Is there any science behind it, right? So I started looking into that and really just opening myself up to receiving the answers I needed, focusing on, instead of what was going wrong in my life, focusing on what I really wanted it to be. And as that happened, more and more information came. And this is really the short version of this. But the lights came on. I started learning a little bit more about really the physics of our thoughts and our belief systems, and was able to see, really take an honest look at what I was communicating to the universe in terms of what was true for me. And this, I think, is going to be a common thread throughout this entire conversation today, because there's one thing to say out loud and do your vision boards and all that stuff about what you want to attract. And then there's what's really going on at an energetic level. And that's where it's really important. And so finding that for myself was key to making it work for me in any kind of consistent way whatsoever. So once that started happening, I got very excited about it and put my attention on just sort of sharing with other people what I was learning, and created the Wealth Beyond Reason program. And then 3 years after I created that, Rhonda Byrne was researching The Secret, found my work, and I guess decided that she wanted that. I have a very mainstream voice, try to root it in as much science as possible without boggling people's minds, my own included. And, so that's just kind of the path I've been on ever since, in terms of that part of my life, the law of attraction part of my life.
So when did you first hear the actual term, the law of attraction?
This is a very good question. And I think because at the time, I didn't even remember it when it was all coming. My first initial conversations were around wealth consciousness, because that's what I was really wanting to try and acquire. And that sort of merged into the bigger picture of the law of attraction. But as time went on, I remembered, I think I had read first about the law of attraction in Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn several years before that. It didn't take, obviously, it didn't stick. I had to be reminded that was what that book was all about. Because it had been several years earlier, and I clearly did nothing with it in terms of having any impact in my life. But I'm going to say that that's probably the first time I really heard it. And then once I went through the wealth consciousness, I really don't remember how I went from wealth consciousness to the bigger picture of the law of attraction. I must have read something and said, yeah, that's it. That's what I'm doing here. It's not just wealth consciousness. It's all aspects of consciousness and creating your life by design. And so that's when I jumped on to using that term. And now what I'm up against is that now that term, for most people, it's the law of attraction. The way that I talk about it is this really huge thing. It's not just about us attracting the stuff we want in our life. It really talks about how energy behaves in our universe, constructing our experience of reality. It's a much bigger conversation than how do I get that car or how do I get that relationship. But for us as humans, the work here, if you want to call it work, which I don't, is to how do we work in that principle, in that law that is the law of attraction, to create a life that is truly fulfilling, one that we can feel happy and love and prosperous and abundant and all of those things, because we certainly can. It's just about learning what's really going on with the energy that is us to make it work. And I think that's really what this conversation today is all about. Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, I came across you through reading The Secret, and then followed your work several years ago through, I think actually through Margaret Lynch as well. She mentioned your work and thought, oh yeah, that was Bob from The Secret. Then through Twitter, then obviously on Periscope in the last few months, which has just been brilliant. Now, so in terms of my experience with the law of attraction, I think I discovered it probably before I read The Secret, which I think a lot of people do. You kind of stumble across it, then you hear these concepts, and then you start manifesting things quite easily. And for a while, I became known as kind of manifestation queen. It's almost like literally for a while, it seemed like I clicked my fingers, set my intention on it, and then I got it. I've said on some of my Periscopes, things like, being on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That was a very kind of deliberate, conscious manifestation. And, but then smaller things. But I think that actually even happened probably before reading The Secret, but it was a visualization of sorts. It was a feeling of my body, and it was a belief that it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then, things like in The Secret, they talk about parking spaces, which I think it's just, the thing that people start off, let's manifest a parking space because it's easy. You have no attachment to the outcome, right? And you don't care if it happens or not. And I think that was the attitude I had with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I had no attachment to being on it. It was just, it was weird. It was just kind of like a knowing, but almost when you kind of like study it after a while, again, I think it's like, Claire, Thrive, Grow, Biz, she posted one of her questions. You then thought, oh, this is good, isn't it? I'm going to start trying now. And I think the very nature of the word trying suggests struggle. So that's... And to doubt whether or not it will work. It's like, well, let's test it. Let's see. And so that whole element of doubt is a real energy. And that happens so often. What your story about how it's easy for people at first, and then they decide to get serious about it. Right, to attract the bigger things, whatever, and then it just whacks the whole communication. And the first time it doesn't happen the way they want for whatever reason, which they may not even know why, then it begins a downward spiral. Oh, it didn't work. It didn't work. Well, maybe it'll work this time. And then just it all can just fall apart. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing is, I think also with a book like The Secret is you kind of read it the first time and you think, wow, this is brilliant. I'm going to put it to work. And then you might get some success to begin with. But then you kind of, it then possibly gets cast aside. You kind of continue with your life as it was. And then you kind of almost forget about it. And certainly for me, it then sparked my interest in other books, other law of attraction teachings, people like Abraham and Esther Hicks, and then going back to some of the old classics like Think and Grow Rich and Earl Nightingale, and so I think that, and then I'm now at the stage where I'm actually going back to The Secret because it's almost like a fresh new read again. I've never even read the book, honestly. I've got it, but I have not sat and read it cover to cover. Right, I don't know if anybody has got any actual, right, let's see some of the, I've only done a few blabs now, and then this is when my multitasking skills I know, it's really, it's definitely trickier with Blab than it is on Periscope because the comments are right there and you have to divert your attention. I have to shout out to, I've got a significant number of my coaching staff has joined us on this call. Oh, fantastic. Okay. It's really nice to have you guys here supporting me. Excellent. So we've got Thrive, Grow, Biz. I used to manifest seats on the underground. So yeah, that's another one, isn't it? I do that,
green traffic lights. I always set my intention on green. And if you set your intention, it's about intention setting before the process. That's when it just becomes, it's just much easier when you set your intention in advance. Sometimes when I get to the car park or the parking lot, I think as you call it, then it's almost a bit too late. You kind of call upon your angels and your manifestation skills and think, oh, that's when you kind of try too hard. But yeah, car park fairy is always with me. What else? I used to. Right. Okay. Right. So I think there was a couple of bigger questions here. So I don't know if you can expand on that at all. But again, I've seen this a lot in kind of some of the circles I'm in. You know, people say, look, you know, I've got my vision board. I'm visualizing. Yeah. I am, you know, I'm doing everything I can. I am believing, but there's obviously some sort of incongruency going on energetically. Could we kind of expand on that a bit more?
Yes. And it kind of goes with what we were saying before, you know, just the whole. Now, it's kind of, it feels like a catch-22 because if someone comes to me with this type of question, they're saying, well, I'm doing all this and I'm doing all that. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but you can feel, right, the energy of the frustration. And that, and if I can feel it, if you can feel it, the universe is definitely picking up on it, right? And so I always say you can't take yourself off the grid. You know, you can't talk your way out of what's really going on energetically. So that sense of desperation about, you know, I'm not feeling, or I'm doing everything and it's not working, you know, what's going on. If you don't get a handle on that and figure out what is causing that desperation, then it's going to continue. And this is where you want a good Melanie Bundock in your life, right? Somebody who can come in with some EFT tools or whatever and get to the heart of that resistance, because, you know, something like that could be like, it worked for me once, but now I can't get it to work again. And that may be indicative of a long running belief or a pattern that's been going on in your life that good things happen and then they're taken away. Right. And that could be a pattern that has gone on through your whole life. And so if you start to sense that with the law of attraction, it's just going to fire up that old program and you're going to attract accordingly. And that is what's going to be your experience. So you have to learn to recognize it and be really brutally honest about, what are you really feeling? Well, not what are you saying and not what do you want the world to see, right? But what's really going on? Because if you can't be honest with yourself and own that, okay, maybe you've got some doubts or some fears or something like that and trying to act all, oh, I'm conscious, I got this, right? Well, again, the universe is not fooled. It's not judging or assessing anything. It's simply responding to your energy. So you either work that energy out or you're going to have to expect these inconsistent results, because some days you may have a good day. You may feel really clear. You're not triggered by anything and things just kind of go. And then the next day something happens and it triggers another pattern and it seems out of control, but it's really totally within your control. But oftentimes you need somebody else to see what's going on for you. That's the power of coaching. That's the power of going to a practitioner such as yourself, because, you know, often we don't want to look at that kind of stuff. You know, if we've been in this work a long time, we don't want to admit that we still have doubts. We don't want to admit that sometimes we, you know, have a negative feeling or are angry or sitting in stress, right? We don't even want to admit it to ourselves, let alone somebody else. But if you can't do that, then you will just stay stuck until, you know, you have the next good day. But then it's all just chance, you know, and then it's going to seem very inconsistent. And I think that's what happens for people who have some success with it and then end up like not doing it anymore, because they end up having inconsistent results. Because look, if it worked all the time, why would you ever stop? Why would you ever stop? You would wake up, you'd set an intention for your day, you'd visualize it, you'd feel it, and then you'd experience it or something better, right? But the first day or two that something doesn't go the way you plan, then you go, oh, I guess it was just luck, and oh, well, I'll just go back to my old way. And now you just, and that pattern, that system that's been running your whole life, you know, it's going to be very easy to readopt because you're very familiar with it, right? So yeah, you really have to be mindful at first when you start with this work, you know. Work. What's the word? What's a better word? You know, not work, because that whole concept of working on it just really.
It's like a way. It becomes a way of life, I think, and a practice. And again, it's like I say quite often to my clients or people, like if you decide I want to run a marathon, you're not good if you're unfit and you've not done a day's exercise. You cannot physically run a marathon tomorrow. You need to train, you need to exercise, and you need to kind of get yourself prepared for it. And I think the law of attraction, For me, it seems a bit that way. It's kind of something you have to work at on an ongoing basis, and you
be consistent.
Be consistent.
Be consistent.
Get better.
And it comes from, so Lisa has posted this question from someone, and it's that, not believing. Like you said, there's the believing. And I get here's the thing. There's belief, and then there's knowing. Okay.
Yes.
This is a distinction that I got admittedly from one of my great mentors, Andy Shaw, in his Bug Free Mind books. But the difference between believing and knowing is huge when it comes to energy. If you believe something, there's actually a little bit of doubt built in there somewhere. If you know something, it's none of that's there. Well, I believe in the law of attraction. That's a lot different than, oh yeah, of course I know the law of attraction because whatever. And that's why when, in all of my courses or whatever, we set that foundation of the science piece of it. So no one has to keep wondering, is this for real? Am I being duped? Is this just new age? What is this? So we set the foundation of what the law of attraction really is and what it isn't, the science of it, so that part of any resistance is gone. And then they can just start owning, well, then great. What's my inspired vision? What is this? Why must I do this vision that is so important that's going to draw me in there? But if people are still hung up on, well, I'm not even sure if this works, I believe it, because they want to believe it, that's completely different than knowing. So if people are struggling with it, I say, you got to just do whatever you got to do to get that knowing, because otherwise it's always going to be hit or miss.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, there's another question that's disappeared. I'm so grateful for everything I have. 3 kids, another on the way. Why is everything around me so tough? I have really tough money struggles, no matter how hard I work at it. Oh.
So I'm wondering, how often do you tell yourself that every day? How often do you sit there and commiserate with yourself about, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm so grateful, but everything around me is so tough. Now, look, I understand why you're doing it, because that is your experience. Right. But you also have to realize that by reaffirming it every day, you're actually creating the evidence. It's not the other way around. OK, something happened somewhere to shift a vibration. You can be grateful for things and still also have, deep-seated beliefs around that things have to be tough, or I don't deserve it, or what. I don't know. I don't know you, so I don't know what those things might be. But I can tell you for sure that if things keep coming up around you, that, everything around me is so tough, this is a consistent conversation that you're having with yourself and the universe energetically. And we need to get down to the root of that. Like when did you see this pattern first show up? Where might this have come from? And then you can, maybe do some EFT around that or some other releasing. But it's going to take some persistence. But I'm telling you that although to ask a question of somebody who can help you, you want to set the context by saying everything around me seems so tough. But you might say, why does everything seem so tough rather than why is everything so tough? A little change of languaging. Why am I experiencing things as tough as opposed to everything is tough? Creating this, well, this is just what is. Things are tough, right? And if you believe that or know that, if you have that strong sense, then you will attract the evidence you need to confirm that, yes, everything around you is tough, even though there are other people in this planet sharing the same air as you who everything is not tough. So it isn't and is that everything is tough. It's your experience. And if it's continuing to be your experience, just know, okay, well, I've got a pattern running that somehow I am inviting tough. What is that about?
And just to play devil's advocate here, because somebody else has just asked a question, somebody says, what if it is tough? What if my reality is really, I'm not saying that Simply Ruby it's quite that bad, but some people are in pretty crappy situations.
No, absolutely. It is tough. You are experiencing it as tough. And I'm just saying that if you have the experience, now, first of all, tough and all of those things, emotions are a choice. We can have challenges and we can learn that this situation, like if there's money problems, then that's tough and I'm going to feel this way, right? Or health situations. We learn these responses for situations, then we call them tough. So that's the first thing to know, that we have defined it as tough. It is what it is. We say it's tough or it's hard. I'm not denying that you're having experiences that you experience as tough. That, of course you are. A lot of people do. So it's not about saying that, negating your feelings. However, you have the choice to perpetuate those feelings and say, no, see, I'm right. It is tough, which if you want to cling to that and argue for it, just know what you're doing energetically to yourself. and that it's time to change your conversation, your predominant conversation. I'm not saying that by changing your words, all of a sudden everything's going to not seem so tough anymore, but you want to start shifting the energy from focusing on how tough things are to a vision where things aren't tough, to a vision where things are effortless and flow with grace and ease. So you have all the gratitude that you have, and the day just flows. Like, you have to know what that looks and feels like if you want to attract it. But if all of your attention is on, no, see, this just keeps happening. See, Bob, I'm telling you, then all I'm saying is that, you know, if you're going to argue for that, then it's going to be easy to win that argument.
So what would be your kind of number one top tip? Just say things are just bad. You know, I am, not me personally, hypothetically, I'm feeling really rotten. Everything, you know, I've got no money. You know, my business has gone down the pan. My marriage is broken up. Just all these kind of things are going on. What would be kind of the first baby steps to kind of dig yourself out, really?
First?
So breathe.
Right, because we get caught up in that spiral. Even just when you were saying that, it's like,
I'm not describing me, by the way.
Right. No, I know, but you know, a lot of people can relate to pieces of what you said for sure. What you need is something to take you from that feeling of yuck and move you into a feeling of being inspired. And look, depending on how deeply you are into that stuck feeling, it could take a while and feel very uncomfortable. Your ego is going to scream at you, because your ego, you know, it's not serving you, but it feels comfortable with the stuckness. It can point and be right. It can say, yeah, things are tough and yucky, yucky, yucky. And so the ego is all actually very strong in those moments. And so if you start to try to create something that is inspiring, it's completely contrary to what your ego is used to, it's going to be wildly uncomfortable. And this is one of those times when it's really going to be super important to have some sort of release technique at hand. But the first step of this whole manifestation process, to have it feel good and have it feel like what you really want, is to get really super clear on what you want. And again, it's said over and over again, not to look at what you don't want. You can use that as a jumping point, but to focus on using the law of attraction to fix a problem just affirms the problem. Yeah. So you have to shift, and it's natural. We're this is how we've been taught to think. We've got a problem. Let's focus on it to solve it. That's not how this needs to work, though, with the law of attraction. What you need now is a vision that inspires you. And I alluded to it before. You need a vision where you can answer the question, why must I do this? Especially if you're dragging yourself up from someplace very deep. Because just having a vision that's like, well, I have a little bit more money, or this is a nice house, that's not strong enough. You need to get to the point where this vision is bigger than you, where you have all aspects of it covered, not just a dollar amount, or not just a house or a relationship. What's the whole life look like? Yes. You know, and it's going to be a process, because you're going to have to stretch out of your comfort zone so dramatically, if you are one of these people who's stuck at the bottom, that it's just going to feel uncomfortable and unnatural even to begin to write this vision, because your ego is going to go, what are you even trying? Right. So you just recognize that and say, quiet now, I'm working on something here, right? And just keep working on it, and it will evolve, and the vision will get bigger and bigger. And eventually you're going to start to hit some key emotional values in your vision, and you're going to feel your heart open a little bit. And you're going to go, whoa, this is a little bit different. You know, it's going to get out of your head and into your heart. That's one of the biggest, I guess, if there's another thing I would say, is that as you're visualizing and thinking about this, try not to do it here as much as here. Because your head is where, you know, your mind is where all this limited stuff is living anyway, and it's yelling at you this way. Your heart doesn't have that, doesn't carry that stuff. So if you can, you know, I always say, like, when you're visualizing, if you can project that vision from here, instead of like out of your head, like you're trying to project it from your eyes or a projector or whatever, because there's just so much noise in here, right? This is where you're feeling everything. This is where you're connecting to everything. This is where you're going to get that sense of inspiration, right? Not in here. So that would just be another thing I would say. So it's really about getting that vision, and it is the first step. Once you get that vision, then there's other techniques like releasing all along the way and taking inspired action and all of those things. But if you don't do that first step, if you don't know what you're doing, what you're going for, and why, you will stay stuck or very easily knocked off course.
Yeah, well, you haven't given the universe the focus. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that is definitely the first point. What do you want yeah, what do you want? I think that is the key question. I love what you said about having the whole vision, the whole complete vision, because I think that's something I wanted to come onto a bit later. Certainly for some people, you kind of think, well, this part of my life is going really, really, really well, but this part is looking really crap. And but I think what you've just said about looking at what does the big vision look like, the inspired vision, I think that kind of answers that question, really.
Yeah, because look, people, if it's all, you mentioned it before, it's all about attachment. If we get attached to something or some specific aspect of our vision, like it has to be this way, or this is the hard part, or this is the big part, it whacks the whole thing. And a lot of times people will create these piecemeal visions like, well, I want that person, I want that money, I want this house, without even looking at, can this actually even live together? Does this even make sense? Can this actually happen? This person's in California. My dream house is in the Netherlands. Whatever. Is not thinking about creating a picture that actually works. And then that can cause problems because logically it just doesn't even compute. So taking that time to do whatever, like get yourself out of the environment that's spiraling you into the abyss. If it's your home, if it's your office, take some time, go away, go to the beach, take a walk, whatever, someplace where you can create with a clean slate and just start dreaming again. Be childlike about it and no limitations, no rules, no worrying about, well, how will this make me money? None of that is allowed because that's just the mind. That's the ego trying to figure things out. Not going to work, or at the very least, it's going to slow you down dramatically. You want to approach all this with a great sense of wonder and awe because it is wonderful and it is awesome what we have the ability to do as human beings. We were born with this amazing reality creation mechanism. Basically, we have the ability to use our imagination. We can see things that aren't actually part of our physical reality. Okay, so there's a reason for that, right? We also have our emotions, this sense of this whole wide range of emotions, from things that feel good to things that feel bad. We have all of those for a reason, and we have our intuition, our ability to hear messages from the universe if we're listening, and they come in various forms. And of course, we have the ability to take action. So we have the ability to devise a dream, a vision that inspires us. We then have the ability to, in real time, all the time, communicate to the universe what this vision is, what is my experience. The universe then instantly responds, not necessarily by having the thing appear for you, but to respond in some way to what you're sending out. And that's where your intuition comes into play. You take that intuition and you take action on it. You're dancing here with the rest of the universe. And that's how you move in grace, flow, and ease toward the realization of your vision. But the minute you get back up in here and start second guessing whatever intuitive nudges are coming in, or saying it's not fast enough, or it's not on my timetable, you wreck the whole thing. All of that is very human behavior that we've learned. It's not our natural state. It's what we've been learned, impatience, and we know better, and we're smarter than the universe. All of that. We've just been taught that. It isn't true. We're not separate from the universe. We're a part of this amazing infinite intelligence. We've just been given this amazing gift of consciousness and this ability to experience this ocean of energy in a physical way and have emotions and all of that. So, clearly, these are not these abilities that we've been built into, the intuition and the visualization, all of that I said. These are not accidental features, right? The universe doesn't have extra features that are useless. We have these for a reason. So that's why you hear people say, and it's true, that if you have a vision that truly inspires you, it's not put there, it's not instilled in you as some cruel joke, right? You have the ability to realize that vision, or at the very least, because really the vision and everything that you're creating, it really is about experiencing the feeling that you think you're going to get. We're here to have these amazing feelings, these emotional experiences, and to feel the joy and all of that. So as we move towards this vision that we're inspired that inspires us, it may not be that what we envisioned is exactly what shows up, but the feeling that we wanted from that vision is what we're going to align with. And that's why it could be that, or it could be something much better. It could show up exactly as we envisioned it. There could be slight tweaks. The universe will deliver in alignment with our vibration, which is programmed basically by our emotions. So that's what we're matching. So that's why with the vision, the more specific you can get, it's not about becoming attached to the specificity, to the details. It's about getting really clear on what that emotion is that you're trying to to have.
Absolutely.
And then not attaching to the physical, how it shows up, but just knowing that this emotion, this happiness, this abundance, this prosperity, this love, this is what I'm moving into alignment with.
Yeah, I think absolutely. For me, the emotions are key. How are you feeling about this? I'll give you a very small example, quite pertinent today. But yesterday, I was trying to get something done in my business. Technology was not playing ball, and I was just sat at my computer feeling really quite stuck and a bit frustrated. So I just knew that was the wrong energy to continue doing what I was doing. So I thought, right, just going to park that all to one side. So then I did some tapping. I tapped on feeling good, letting go of the frustration, and choosing to feel inspired. You know, come on, universe, just inspire me to do something. And then thought popped into my head, I know, I'll message Bob and see if he'll do that blab with me. And the funny thing was, you replied instantly, and it was just, I don't know what it was, but it's just kind of shifting my vibration out of that frustration, choosing to be inspired. And since then, that, who knows, I'm sure, yes, actually, it was related. I thought, well, that was, not a manifestation, but it was just brilliant. I was so pleased that, and it was kind of scheduled really quickly. And sometimes it's nice just to just do things quite spontaneously. And then I went back to my work, and it just all flowed so much better. Sometimes I think you need to remove yourself from whatever it is that's kind of bothering you. I know that's a very trivial, minor example, but sometimes you just have to if you know you're feeling that way, there's no point continuing feeling stuck and stressed. Just go for a walk, or I don't know, just do something completely different just to shift that vibration.
Yes, changing your state. I mean, that's when I'll pick up the puppy, or I'll play the ukulele or something like that. I mean, literally, because you get into this mode of like, well, I just got to stay with this problem until I solve it, right? Like you're wrestling with technology. Well, that's probably not going to work, right? And you're certainly not going to be productive and creative and efficient when you're all scattered and in that state. So you do something to change that state. And then you can come back to the thing, and sometimes miracles occur and it just starts working. I mean, that's happened to me a million trillion times, right? So no explanation, but everything is just resolved. Or you're in a much better space to see a different solution that you can't see from when you're in it like this. You're looking at it from an expanded point of view, and you go, oh, this is all I had to do. My mouse wasn't on, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Right, so just see a couple more comments that have come in. Somebody put here, what if you can't afford a coach or something along those lines. I think you might mention hiring a coach or a practitioner. Yeah, what if you can't afford a mentor or a coach right now?
Well, look, there's plenty of people who will provide that kind of help for you at, no charge. Maybe they can't get in depth. Our coaches, we have a. Can I talk about it? We have a Facebook group.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a Facebook group. It's facebook.com/boundlesslivingcoaching, and all of my coaches are hanging out there answering questions. Right. And so,
can you put that in the chat?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Sing a song or something while I do this.
I'm not singing. So we've got a couple more questions here.
All right, I think that'll do it. Yeah, and that's just my coaches are hanging out there, and you can ask questions there, and they answer them, and all of that. At some point, if you're digging too deep with somebody like that, if they are a coach and that's what they do for a living, it's going to get to the point where it's like, well, we need to up this level of relationship to dig deep and give you the time. But look, there's lots of people out there who can help and reflect back. Sometimes they don't have to even be trained. It can just be somebody in your life who is able to reflect back to you something that you can't see. And then you have something to work with. And, Melanie does her blabs, and there's all these people, giving away help on Periscope and Blab all the time, walking you through meditations and release sessions and all sorts of things like that. I would just go seek out, that kind of assistance from the outside until you can get to a position where if a mentoring relationship is right for you, that you can do it.
Yeah, I was just about to say, actually, I've done a couple of blabbing tap-alongs where I've actually asked people to bring their questions and we do public tapping together. So Ruby, I'd be more than happy to do that with you. The only thing is it is quite public and as long as you're happy to do some public tapping, then I would be more than happy to do some tapping with you. Yeah. So just send me a message if you want to do that and we can set a blab up. So I'd be very happy to do that because I'm sure just by us tapping will help not only you but many other people feeling the similar way as well.
That's what I love about tapping is that group dynamic that you can be working with one person and everybody else can be tapping along and get the benefits. It's really like
tell
if
me
people
about
haven't
your
ever done that.
experience with tapping, Bob.
So I resisted it for probably the first year or so that I learned about it because it seemed silly and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But I also didn't try it. So the moment you know who Brad Yates is?
Do I know who Brad Yates is? Funnily enough, I said the same question. I've met Brad twice now.
Okay.
He's been to
So
London.
Brad was the one who actually finally pushed me to just try it one day, you know?
Yeah.
And it was over some minor upset. It wasn't anything huge, but it was undeniable. You know, it was undeniable how this shifted. And so I started playing with it more. And then I introduced it into sort of my curriculum and started telling people about it, did tons of interviews with Carol Look. And really, we just did many, many tapping sessions. And it just shifted everybody's results with the program so much because now we had a much more direct way to release resistance than, you know, hours of meditation or whatever. So, you know, huge fan. And it's been something that I have been a proponent of for a very, very long time and just, you know, love getting in, love sharing group sessions that are recorded by somebody who really knows what they're doing because the benefits are just so far reaching.
Absolutely. I must laugh. Lisa Nichols has put in, Mel is the head of the Brad Yates UK fan club.
Oh, okay. Well, so yes, you know who Brad is.
I know who he is. And Lisa, he was in London in the summer. And funnily enough, I was talking to him about Periscope and he was like, no. And then I think we just connected at that point. And he's like, oh, yes, I know Bob. So so a little circle of you out there in California.
Yep.
Got a huge fan, lots of Brad fans in the house here.
Good.
And funny enough, I noticed that Brad had done a program with Joe Vitale as well. He was another contributor to The Secret, wasn't he? So yeah, Brad's certainly getting himself around there. But no, lovely. So just checking, I haven't missed any big. That's sometimes people ask questions and you miss them. Lots of fans of tapping here. Try to connect with me on Facebook, but I'm at my limit. I don't think that's me. I'm not that popular.
I'm at my limit. So
are you? Okay.
So you can display because So well, I mean, you can go to you can send me a message. It'll end up in my other inbox, but then I can try and follow you or whatever. Or you can certainly follow me. I know. But yeah, that's one of those things because when right after The Secret, and I didn't do very much Facebook back then, but after The Secret, I started getting all these friend requests. And I thought, well, obviously it's a good idea to accept them all.
Yeah.
So then before I knew it, I had like 5,000 completely irrelevant friend requests. And so now it's that, how do I, am I really going to go through and defriend thousands of people? No. So that's what I'm up against.
You're too nice for that.
Right. I do have a fan page. It is actually facebook.com/Bob Doyle LOA. Okay. Bob Doyle LOA.
Great. So, Bob, do you ever have trouble manifesting?
Never. No, it's always flawless every time. Yes. I have definitely have my own areas that, there's always so much room for improvement. I think that because of how we are and how we've been brought up in society, that resistance is just so in us. I mean, we've just learned so much limitation. And also when you are in this business, you are exposed to a lot of people and their limiting beliefs and you have to guard your energy very carefully. And so, I still get triggered with old beliefs that I had as a kid, but the difference now is that I can see each of those instances of getting triggered and feeling resistance as a gift, as an opportunity. There's an area I hadn't looked at yet. Or if I felt like I had looked at it, that's a time when I would call Carol Look or somebody and say, look, this keeps happening. And I felt like I've got this. What else could be happening? And moving around that way. But, because I have gotten into, so some people know that, a couple of years ago, I went through a divorce that took a long time and that whacked me. I mean, that whacked me energetically on so many levels, the feelings of failure and do I deserve good things? And just, oh my God. I mean, it was just everything kind of spiraled and it took a lot of different people, a lot of different coaches, a lot of different techniques to pull me back up. Even knowing what I know, right? It was still like just so many layers because I got 3 kids and the whole thing and I moved to LA. I mean, a lot went on. and it was just really more than I could just handle just on my own.
Yeah.
So, that was, I struggled a lot during that time. I mean, I kept my head just barely above water, but I needed to go through that, I think. I mean, I think that all the different things that I've been through that have been quote unquote tough, have always ended up being a good thing in the long run in terms of making me stronger, giving me more realizations, getting to know myself better. But because I'm also in the position where, at least for now in my career and for the past 15 years or so, have been a person who takes what they learn and turns it around, to try and teach people now here's how to get through this. That unfortunately, the more of these really traumatic or whatever significant energetic events that happen in my life, it does give me the ability to help people now on a level that I couldn't before, because I could sort of understand what they were telling me, but having lived it, and it's a just different level of empathy and being able to say specifically, well, this is what I did to get through this.
No.
That's not that I want to keep doing it that way, by the way. I'd be totally fine with no more stuff happening so that I could teach people, right? So
but I guess also when you're kind of in the public eye and you're teaching the secret, I think to kind of go through stuff like that, it must kind of make you feel like, I don't know, I guess when things aren't going hugely well for me, it's hard when you kind of got clients and you kind of think, you kind of almost feel like a fraud. You kind of think, who am I to kind of teach people about how fabulous your life can be when mine isn't looking too fabulous at the moment.
That's totally the worst thing that you can do, because then of course you just start spiraling. Oh no, I'm a fraud, all this type of thing. No, I'm a human. I'm a human. And I'm honest about it. I've always been very transparent. It's like while respecting the my family's privacy and all of that, almost as soon as this stuff started going down, I started talking openly about my experience of it, because I in no way want to make people think that my life is just this nonstop flow of perfect and awesome. I mean, because it's about the contrast. It's the contrast that shows us and propels us even more towards what we want. The key is not to get stuck in the low contrast when those contrasting moments happen, to not, wallow in it. And that's what a lot of people do. They think that there's an appropriate time that they must stay upset or angry or sad or whatever when something happens. And I'm saying that ultimately is your choice. And just know that if you succumb to that and just decide, I'm just going to be pissed off for 3 days, and sometimes people do that, just know that there is an energetic consequence to that choice, and it's probably not going to be good. So
you have your happy ending now, don't you, with the lovely Lynn Rose?
I do. Lots and everything. Yes, everything is awesome. I live in a beautiful place. I have an awesome dog. I have a wonderful woman in my life. I've got amazing friends, and one of the things that I'm doing is I'm really honoring some of my other passions now. I've been teaching the law of attraction for 12 years or whatever, and in that kind of got away from some of my other stuff like music and voiceover, just different things that I'm good at.
He has a great voice, doesn't it? Everybody doesn't have a great voice.
So I love doing that now, and I'm doing it a lot, and it's giving me a new level of juice in my life, because you start to miss it. If I'm just doing law of attraction stuff and people would only know me as Bob Doyle from The Secret, after a while, it was like, as grateful as I am, obviously, for The Secret and that opportunity, it's like, well, I'm more than that. And I'm wanting, and things like Blab and Periscope are allowing me to share those aspects of myself on a grander scale in a more appropriate way than suddenly emailing my law of attraction list and saying, hey, I also do voiceover and here's me playing the ukulele, right? Even though I have been advised by some people to go ahead and do that. But really just allowing myself to explore all areas of my passion is something and that's a lesson I needed to learn, that I really try and instill in other people too, because they don't leave enough room. They don't spend enough time just doing things that are their true passions, because they go, well, I'm not making any money from it, so I don't have enough time, and blah, 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 blah. And of course they keep saying that over and over. And so they're going to always stay busy and never find time. And I just made the decision that, no, I'm going to make the time and see what happens. And of course, life is way more fun when you can allow yourself to just get into that state of passion and bliss, doing the things you love, where time stops and you feel on purpose, and you're, so it's kind of a well done, but people do need to do that. Yeah,
I need to do a bit more of that. That's really good advice. So I just wanted to rewind very slightly, talking about, because I think this is quite important for people when we are going through kind of tough times, like you and your divorce, and And, I always like to think that actually, we are learning something, and, and as coaches or healers or whatever, it's good to have that empathy so that, we can talk about our experiences, having lived through that. And a book that I've been reading is Wayne Dyer's book, I Can See Clearly Now. Not sure if you've read that one.
I have not read that one.
It's his memoirs, really, and he talks about basically all the different experiences in his life, where everyone he had with hindsight and having got to the end of his life, he could see how each experience taught him something. So at the end of each chapter, it says, I can see clearly now because this is X, Y, Z. This is what I learned from that experience. And he had some terrible experiences in his life and some really tough ones. But, and I think it's important. Obviously, it's hard, I think, during the time you're going through it, but actually to realize that there is a lesson in there. And I think it's really, that's certainly, it's like the universe kind of throwing us on a slight curveball sometimes and taking us maybe slightly off course. But actually, as long as you have your vision in mind, then that's okay. It's just something to process along the way.
Yeah, it's the concept of the universe throwing us curves and things like that. I just want to be really careful when I talk about it in terms of language like that, because that seems to imply that the universe is up here plotting my destiny as opposed to what's really happening, which is I'm throwing myself the curves.
Yeah,
there's something within me that's throwing the curve. I am bringing myself into a learning experience or not, depending on what I do with it when it shows up. I am the one broadcasting something that is resulting in something showing up in my life. And then when it does, I make the decision on how I'm going to feel about it, whether or not, oh, this is so challenging, or this is really hard, or this is whatever it is. But that's actually very empowering, because the minute you give up any of that to like some unseen force or whatever, then it's like, well, anything could happen. How do I know? It's just chaotic. It's not about that things aren't going to happen to you that are quote unquote out of your control. But knowing that somehow you're in vibrational alignment with them gives you the opportunity to look at, well, what could I shift in my vibration to maybe prevent that from happening so much, like that I actually have resistance towards this bad thing happening, as opposed to allowing it somehow. There's so many back doors where things can slip in, and it happens because we watch the news or we watch movies and things and ideas get into our head. It opens up a whole world of possibilities of things that can happen to you or that you can hear about or whatever, because of the choices that we make to expose ourselves to certain ideas or visuals or whatever. And just knowing that, okay, well, maybe I don't want to do that so much anymore. Maybe I want to limit my exposure to all the negativity so that I can have a positive experience and give the best of myself out in the world and contribute the most value and make more people happy, or whatever it is that you want to do.
Okay, no, that's a really good perspective. I love that, actually. I'm going to have to watch the replay because I just got slightly distracted with my daughter's head poking around the corner. So
I missed it.
She has been bribed to within an inch of her life to be quiet, but she's broken the promise. Yes, Bonnie. She couldn't help herself. Sorry, I just saw a couple of questions. Somebody says here, do you have a daily Thrive, Grow, Thrive Biz? Do you have a daily manifestation practice?
I used to have a more formal one, and now I think, because I've just been doing this so long, it's really about just trying to be in constant awareness and present, with what's going on in my head and what my emotions are doing and where do I have my focus. Because ideally, you want this, it should be just automatic. It shouldn't be that we have to have a practice, but a practice is, of course, very key at the beginning to start creating new habits and starting to see results from as a result of having those habits. But I think ultimately what you want to do is just be a manifester, in every moment to the extent that you can. But look, to start, then yes, I think, you wake up in the morning and lots of people, there's so many different things you can do, but certainly gratitude is a big part of it. Getting in touch with how do you want your day to go? How do you want to feel during the course of your day? Because you're not predicting the future necessarily. All kinds of things can come up and throw you a curveball, but you can be intentional about how will I move through this day, emotionally? Can I feel abundant even if I get a pile of bills or something or an unexpected expense? Can I feel relaxed, even though I've got a ton of work in front of me and I don't know exactly how I'm going to get it all done. What would that look / feel like? That type of thing. But again, I can't. If there's anything that I would really want people to practice, that is presence, being here now, because we spend so much time worrying about this over here or fretting about that back there. That for a lot of people, it's very rare that we're right here, and this is where everything's happening. This is where you're having your experience of life. This is where you're sending the communication to the universe about what is true for you. Yes. And if your thoughts are out there, you're creating all kinds of, you're not here. And this is where the juice is, really. So if there's anything that I could really suggest to people is to take on some sort of practice on learning how to be present. And there's there's super simple ways, just by taking the time to notice 5 things in your space. That brings you here right now. Another great one is just asking yourself, am I present right now? And to be able to answer that question, you got to say, you got to be present to answer. So there's lots of different things. And of course, going out into nature and just being with what you see and feeling it and feeling their senses, really be in the moment with your body, feel everything, and that it's really, and if you haven't done that in a while, and I would wager to say that there's probably people who are on here who haven't been present for more than about a split second in months, maybe even years. And to shift into what that feels like and go, whoa, it's a totally different feeling, when you're not worried about this or you're not stressed about that, because all that happens. If you're stressing or you're worried or you're feeling fear or any of that, you're not present because you can't feel that in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bob, if you could just tell everybody quickly, how can we find more information about you? I know we've kind of touched on it slightly, but if we...
So boundlessliving.com, which I just put in the thing.
Okay, brilliant.
Is my quote unquote main website. And that's where you can learn more about me. It's where you can link to, a lot of free videos on YouTube and stuff, link to the various social media stuff, Blab and Periscope. And I have a meditation there, which is a visualization meditation that actually uses EFT throughout it. Wow. So that you are tuned into your vision on every sensory level. You're walked that whole thing, and you're doing EFT throughout it. There's a video version and an audio version, and then there's some information about what EFT is if you're not familiar with that. And you can get that if you go to the site. It says something like "Get your free gift from Bob Doyle," and that's what that is. So yeah, lots of information there. That's a good.
And you have a team of coaches. Do you coach yourself or?
I used to do a lot more one-on-one coaching. The whole reason that I got these coaches certified and trained them, and they're excellent, is so that I could put my attention on doing other things, because anyone who's a coach knows that that's quite a time commitment. And because there are so many other things I want to do personally in my life, I needed to free up that space. But at the same time, I wanted these coaches to be as able to duplicate how I would do it as possible, obviously with their own style and their own personality and all of that. But the principles and things, like I didn't want, too new agey woo-woo stuff that doesn't relate to how I do it in there, because then it wouldn't be congruent. So what started out as a 6-month certification program has gone on to almost a year for various reasons. But a lot of it is because we decided to start this coaching organization. And that's another, if I can write that down too.
Do.
boundlesslivingcoaching.com. That's where people can go to, basically apply to have a conversation with one of our coaches, just to see if coaching is the right option for them, because it is definitely not for everybody. I mean, not everybody is ready for the financial commitment, the time commitment to be able to move through stuff when they're stuck. Obviously the coach is there to help facilitate that, but you have a conversation with one of these guys and you're gonna say, okay, yeah, I'm ready, or I'm totally, that's not yet. So, but yeah, I'd invite anybody to explore any of this stuff, obviously.
Yeah, brilliant. Somebody said, off topic, what mic are you using, Bob? Actually, I'd quite like to know that as well. It was very interesting.
It's just an older mic. It's a MXL. I don't have my glasses right now. I got it dirt cheap years ago.
Does nobody want to know about my mic?
Yeah, I'm actually on the verge of upgrading all of this because I am doing so much more voiceover. I can't believe I'm getting away with it with this mic, but it's pretty good. MXL, I just can't focus on the numbers because I don't have my reading glasses. And I just, and I have 9 pairs and not one of them Not one of them is in this room.
Now, have you heard I haven't done it myself, but there are EFT practitioners out there who help improve eyesight. Have you heard about that?
Carol, look, has one.
Oh, does she? I didn't know Carol does. I know that.
Yep. And I haven't done it, obviously, but I mean, she's had it for years. I may even have it somewhere, but that is really interesting to me too. That whole idea, like how much of this issue with my eyes recently. I mean, yes, I just turned 50, so
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Thank you very much. So yeah, that can shift. But I often wonder: is there some resistance related thing to, is it related to vision? Do I need a bigger vision? You know what I mean? There's all sorts of really fun ways I could look at this.
There are ways to look at it. Yeah. I love the way you're looking around. But I also
to be able to read this microphone right now. But
with aging and eyesight, I think that kind of we get into that kind of the biology of belief where we think we're getting older, therefore we believe that our eyesight must naturally start to fail.
Well, I think it's karma, because I had a friend who's a few years older than me, and when I would go over to visit him and he'd be doing this stuff in the computer monitor, I decided to make fun of him.
There you go. Karma's come around and put you on the butt.
So to answer the question, it's MXL V57M. I don't even know if you can get them anymore, but
Somebody just asked, also, would love to know thoughts on vision boards, visualizations for those just starting out about it. How do we go about it? Now, I love vision boards. I've run vision board workshops. I just think they're brilliant, because I think some people have a hard time getting that mental picture in their head. Mm-hmm. So when you can actually have fun and be creative and stick things out, pictures that make you feel amazing, that's how I think, and just having something to look at. But I like to tap with my vision board as well. But yeah, Bob, tell me about,
Yes, tap with the vision board. Yeah. Because what I say about that, the only thing I say about the vision boards is, just like you said, that they're designed to do one thing. And that is to create an emotional experience that's in alignment with the emotional experience you want to have when this stuff comes to you. If you look at your vision board and go, that's never going to happen, that's too big, where is it? Then it's actually defeating the purpose in a big way, and actually could be making things worse. If every time you look at your vision board you feel frustration, then you're not, But that's why, just like on this meditation that I'm providing, that you tap while you're doing it, it's the same thing, because when you're looking at your vision board, your ego is immediately going to say, you don't have any of that stuff, right? It's going to start to move you. It's because it's out of your comfort zone. By definition, you're trying to get something bigger. So of course your stuff is going to come up. Of course you're going to kind of move into a little bit of resistance. So why not be tapping right then, at the same time, not like later, I'm going to bookmark this and do it. Look at your vision board, and if anything's coming up, just be tapping and go through the process. I think that's the most effective way to visualize, is if you can release while you're doing it, because you are going to bring up some stuff. Otherwise, if you didn't have resistance towards it, you'd be living it. Right? So it's just kind of built in that resistance is going to show up to some extent. Yes, I will read through all the comments after. I'm sure there's things I've missed and questions probably directed at you as well, Bob. I think between us, there's probably some, so I apologize in advance for any big questions. There was one question, and it was the very first question posted before we went live. Nikki posted it. Now, I don't know if Nikki's still here, but she said she's great at manifesting, and but there's just one big thing she's stuck on. I think you did post something in the comments saying, but do you perceive that thing to be big? Now I know Nikki, and I think I know what that thing is, so I don't want to speak about it, but let's just say, say if you and a significant other in your life have a different vision, how does that work? Uncomfortably.
That's not the right answer.
It's not the answer people like. No. I can tell you that for sure. That's one of my biggest questions that I've had through the years is like, well, what if the people close to you in your life aren't on board with your new direction?
Yeah.
Well,
I can certainly relate to that.
So you can't want it for them.
No.
And at this point, you have to make a decision. Whose life am I going? Now, look, there's compromise in every relationship. That's one thing. I'm not talking about a little bit of compromise here and there. I'm talking about a fundamental, for me to be me and who I am and do what I'm here in this world, I need to go this way. And if I don't, then I'm living to your expectations or their expectations or somebody else. You've basically just given up your life. Now you're just going to stay alive and try and make people happy and comfortable. That's the decision that you have to make. So yeah, it's tough, and it's not the answer that people want. It's not like you can go, well, just visualize this way and they'll change their mind. You have to follow your path. And that doesn't necessarily mean that all relationships are going to end, right? Sometimes a person just needs to see that you're actually going to do it. You know, like maybe you've talked a big game your whole life and they're resistant or whatever. Well, now you're really going to go do it. And you stick to it, even when it gets tough. Then you become an inspiration. And if you don't become an inspiration, then clearly this relationship has evolved. Okay. And again, you can make the choice. Do you stay and compromise the key aspects of what's important to you? Or do you do what you have to do to go and live your life? And just remember, and again, I'm not advocating any sorts of breakups and things like that. I am saying, though, that you have the choice to make. Am I living my life or am I living someone else's? And also know that everyone who's in your life right now, coworkers, spouses, friends, they're all there appropriately. You have been in alignment with these people, otherwise they wouldn't be there. But if you suddenly change your predominant vibration because you've got a bigger vision or you want to follow your passion or whatever it is, you're going to now send out a different vibration, basically, and there's no guarantee that these people are going to be in resonance with it anymore, right? And yes, you can look at it as, oh, sad, my relationships are falling away, but also know that as you change your vibration, you're going to be bringing in a whole new world of people who are in alignment with that, who support you, who celebrate what you're up to, as opposed to going, what are you doing? Why would you be doing this? Who do you think you are, right? So it's an evolution. You know, people will always come in and out of your lives, and it's the societal thing. It's what we've been taught about. Oh, it's a shame. It's so sad that this ended and da-da-da. Well, it is just what it is. We, again, put all the weight and the heavy emotion around it or whatever about, you know, the significance of the relationships and, oh, isn't it devastating that this didn't work or whatever. It did what it was supposed to do based on who you were at that time. And then if you're going to now become somebody else, just know that there's no guarantee that the people who are in your life right now are going to follow you, nor is it appropriate that they do. They have their paths, and either, you know, if they're stuck in limitation, well, you clearly don't want to immerse yourself around that, because you will always slow you down. It will be an anchor. You may trudge forward, but if you're dragging along somebody who absolutely does not want to change, who does not want something bigger for themselves, who doesn't believe that you can do it.
Lisa Nichols has just said here, he's doing an impression of my old man. So, no, well, I think it's been brilliant. And I think for a lot of people on this scope, I think it may well be worth watching the replay, because I think sometimes when if you've got kind of your own stuff going on, you're hearing this, I think sometimes you need to listen to this kind of a second time just to kind of allow it to kind of sink in. So, because I think the answers that the questions that people have got here, the answers are going to be in a lot of kind of the words of wisdom that you've kind of spoken already, Bob, because I think sometimes we just kind of keep coming back, yeah, but let's just go back to feeling good. Let's just go back to, you know, removing yourself from the situation. Yeah, but so just to end, wrap up the blab now, we've gone a bit over, but what would you just say the quick, I don't know, top 3 tips for getting your manifestation mojo back on track?
Well, again, so it's the first one is, like I said, you have to know what you want and why you want it. And it seems so basic, but people throw that, they breeze right past that. They go, oh, well, I want the $1 million, of course. I want to be debt free. I want this dream relationship. I want this big, huge house. I want to, right. They just, that's the automatic response without even thinking about putting themselves in that situation and why that's going to serve them and their purpose here on the planet. I'm not saying that those things won't occur, but it's just the context. You need an energetic context to keep you on path. So that's the first thing. The second thing is learn a release technique, EFT or another one, because you're going to need it, right? That's right over there, Melody Batak. And then the other one is to take action. You know, you must, when you have the vision and you're releasing resistance, the universe is going to be screaming at you with things to do. You need to learn how to hear that intuition, those intuitive nudges, however it shows up, whether it's a thought in your head or a chance meeting or a phone call or an idea to do something. You have to learn how to take action on that. And if you've never done it before, it's an exercise in trust. You just try it and see what happens.
Like me messaging you yesterday, Bob. That was me taking action.
Right. And I'm so glad you did, because I knew I was going to have a ton of fun here today. And yeah, so just taking the action. If you can do comes up and take inspired action based on your intuition, you're doing it. That's what you're doing. You will always be moving towards the realization of your vision. And by the way, as you reach your vision, it's going to expand into something else. And then you have this amazing life of just more and more abundance and happiness and new experiences and grander vision and new people and more impact, more influence, the whole thing, by just keeping with that simple sort of flow.
That sounds really exciting. And Lisa, I don't think Bob said anything about a wine box.
Wine box?
Do you have them?
Now I have to go back and search this.
No, she said, step number 2, learn a release technique, EFT, and a wine box.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, Lisa, you were making up rules here. No. Oh, dear, bless her. She's thank you so much, Lisa, for moderating. And I know she's kind of kept a couple of people in check with a few kind of not so positive comments, but thank you.
What?
I know. But anyway, we'll ignore them. They disappeared after seeing the swift hand of Lisa. So
I need to get me a Lisa for my blabs.
You are my wingman, my wing girl. Thank you very much. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been fantastic, insightful. We've had loads and loads and loads of positive comments, too many to even go through, but I know that so many people have got value out of this today. And I think it was Thrive Grow Biz said she was having a really grumpy day with the law of attraction, but she was feeling so much better now after hearing everything you had to say. So,
well, good.
So that's why we're here. So this is just brilliant. So it's just, I think there's been so much content and so much value here that hopefully we'll, I don't know what to say, I'm speechless, but no.
Well, hey, wait, can I just ask you right now in front of everybody to put you on the spot that if you can get me a copy of this recording, I will help you out by posting it in my various groups and different things like that, and pointing to you, because I think people need to know about you as well. Oh,
that's very sweet of you. Thank you. I don't know. I've got this thing, I must tap on it. I don't really like selling myself. I very rarely introduce myself on Scopes, and something a bit, I need to go tap on that. Thank you. That's very kind. So yes, I will. I'll get the recording across to you. I think I can do that. I think Blab sends you a link afterwards, doesn't it?
Yes.
So catch us both on Periscope, and Bob, you're on Blab quite a bit as well, aren't you? Bob on Blab. That's a bit of a mouthful.
At Bob Doyle Secret. Yeah,
Bob Doyle Secret, and on Periscope as well. We're both on Periscope. And thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you all very soon. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Melanie.
Bye.